Chapter 22. You're Not Going to Boo Me. By early 1990, Jack had started managing a few other artists in Yonkers and New Rochelle. And when we did a show at one of his parties, he would bill us as the House Party All Stars, after the name of his company, House Party Productions. The best party he and his partners threw was on Thursday nights at a club called The Castle on 138th Street and Walton Avenue in the Bronx. Sneaker Thursdays was popular because there weren't many places in New York at the time where heads could go to party and listen to hip hop without having to abide by a dress code or suffer through hours of R&B. And every Thursday, Jack would have us open for whoever the headliner was. Biz Markie, Big Daddy Kane, Nice and Smooth, and Special Ed were all artists that I opened for at the Castle. I never thought anybody who rolled with Jack was nice, though. That's why I always made sure that I went on last. I wanted to perform as close to the established artists as possible. But I didn't respect those stars that much either. It wasn't anything personal. I just felt like after my wins over K Solo and Bill Blast, nobody could fuck with me on a rap tip. I didn't care whether someone had a song on the radio or not. I knew that I could tear them up. One Thursday, I proved my point. It was a night the Castle sponsored a big DJ battle. Folks had packed in the club from 10 p.m. while contestants took turns cutting and scratching their favorite dance breaks. I wondered why Kason wasn't there because I knew he would have gotten some applause for scratching the record with his teeth. But this was also a regular party night, and you can't dance to a bunch of DJ tricks. So around midnight, the crowd was getting restless. After Jack announced the winner, though, instead of starting up the music, he wanted me and TQ to perform. I knew that wasn't a smart idea, and the minute TQ got on stage with the mic in his hand, the crowd started booing him. My man barely made it through his first song. Then it was my turn. Okay, I understand that you've been listening to a DJ battle for 2.5 hours, and now you're ready to get your groove on. But y'all are not going to do me like you did TQ. I got something to say. Lord Finesse was a Bronx MC who had a rep throughout New York for always dropping hot verses on popular underground mixtapes. And when I got on stage, I noticed that he was chilling at the front with his partner, Andre the Giant, later known as part of the duo Showbiz and AG. The two of them were just standing there staring at me, so I decided to go into attack mode. Forget my normal routine. I was going to direct my rhymes straight at these guys like they had challenged me to a street battle. It worked like a charm because once the crowd peeped what I was doing, they started hollering like crazy. It seemed that Andre the Giant lived around the corner, and here he was getting dissed with all of his peoples in the club. Suddenly, Kid Capri, who was the house DJ, cut the beat off. He knew the two of them and could see that they were getting heated without having a way to respond. Yo, hold up. I want Lord Finesse and Andre the Giant to come up on the stage, and we're going to do this shit for real. On cue, everyone in the club rushed to the front of the stage, curious to see who had the balls to challenge their man in his home spot. They didn't know me. I was from Yonkers. This was the Bronx. They hadn't ever bought any of my mixtapes or heard of Bill Blast, and I could see Jack shaking his head. In the early days of hip hop, your street rep was the most important thing you had as an MC, and Jack always tried to discourage me from battling. He knew that if I lost a battle in a place like the Castle with so many artists and label folks around, my whole career would be put on ice, and I definitely wouldn't be able to perform anywhere in the Bronx anymore. But I wasn't thinking about all that. I was just trying to get out of a bad situation that he put me in. And well, if it's on, it's on. Running through niggas is how I do niggas, and two niggas got nothing for me. When they saw me, they looked the other way and tried to ignore me. Since there was always a dick riding dude in the street battles that I had in Yonkers, I already had rhymes where I would talk to one person and put his man in it. So battling two people didn't faze me. And I kept it ugly. I put holes like footholes in niggas' buttholes. Stomp a mud hole, and when I cut holes, the fucking blood flows. The three of us went face to face, and I shitted on both of them at the same time. It was no contest. Yeah, you're not going to boo me. Not tonight. Not ever. After that, I could do no wrong in the castle. Sneaker Thursdays became more and more popular, and artists that Jack wanted to headline at the club started telling him that they wouldn't perform if I was going to rhyme that same night. It felt good to have that kind of reputation in the Bronx, the birthplace of hip hop. and it wasn't long before I took my skills down to Manhattan. It was the 1990 New Music Seminar on 99th Street and Amsterdam Avenue in a large school playground called Rocksteady Park after the breakdancing crew. The seminar was an annual talent conference that was very influential in the hip hop world at the time because it was supported by the major record labels and attended by different kinds of people from all over the country who were just hungry to get into hip hop. I easily made it through the early rounds of the contest, but in the semifinals, the DJ kept messing up my music. A battle when you have a DJ is different from being on the street with a radio or a beatbox because then you're at the mercy of whoever's spinning the records. But the DJ is a crucial part of an MC's performance in a battle. If he plays a beat for you that the crowd really likes, you will have a distinct advantage over the next man because as long as your flow sounds good, the crowd will be into what you're doing. It doesn't matter what your lyrics are. If the music is hot enough, the crowd will think you're freaking it. But 3 of the 4 times I took the stage that day, as soon as I started getting into my verse, the beat started skipping. Yo, what's going on, money? I looked back at the DJ, heated, just glad that I saved face a little bit by saying some halfway decent rhymes before the beat messed up. And I had to start all over. Then, after 2 more bars, the beat skipped again. Yo, DJ, turn the beat off, man. I don't want no fucking music. That crushed it. The crowd saw me taking matters into my own hands as a real move because if I could be dope with no beat, then I could be a pretty good MC. 2 rounds later, the contest was over and I won the award for Best Rapper. Somebody stole a trophy though. I was mad because I was going to bring that joint back to YO as my first badge of NYC officialness. And when I came off stage, Jack had some more good news. He said the Source magazine had called and they wanted to interview me for Unsigned Hype. We had sent my demo and picture to them months before, and when I didn't hear anything back from them, I figured I didn't get it. But now it was real. DMX the Great was about to be known as the best unsigned rapper in the country. Yo, Jack, I want you to hold these for me, I said to my manager when I got back to the house that night. I had 10 black and white composition notebooks that I had been writing in since my days in juvenile. Almost every rhyme that I had ever written was in them. Jack looked at me puzzled for a second. You want me to hold them? Yeah, I do, I said, realizing that I trusted the brother. I do. Tashira had never seen me perform a big show, but at the time I was supposed to take the stage at Commerce High School. Kason and I were 3 towns away in a weed spot getting lifted. The event was headlined by Nikki D, Isis from X Clan, and a group called Leaders of the New School, whose first single, Case of the PTA, was quickly becoming one of the hottest songs in the country, thanks in part to the energy of a young MC called Busta Rhymes. This was different from the type of shows I had been doing at the Castle or School 12, and definitely Brown Eyes, the only place Tashira had ever seen me perform before. This was a concert where fans actually had to line up and buy tickets. In the spot, Kaysen kept asking me what time we had to go on, but I didn't know, so I told him not to worry about it. The green was real sticky, and I was enjoying my blunt. When we finally got to Commerce, Jack was furious because I was supposed to go on before everybody else. But Isis had already finished her show, and leaders of the new school, who were scheduled to go on last, had gotten tired of waiting for me and had already begun setting up their equipment. I didn't care. YO was still my hometown, and I knew Tashira was there with her girlfriend. Yeah, you sit right in front, Ma, I had told her with a smile. And I was feeling good because earlier that day I had decided to shave my head. Up until then, I always kept a short afro with the waves. Even when I went to jail, I never wanted them to cut my scalp too low. But something possessed me that afternoon to change my look, so I borrowed one of Jack's razors after he went to work and got busy. My new bald head looked perfect with my black jeans and hoodie. When I took the stage 15 minutes after LONS had ended their show with their hottest song, I just took it to another level. Kason and I ripped through our entire repertoire: Spellbound, Yonkers, aka YO, and a new joint called 10 Hype Beats, where K would cut together the hottest hip hop breaks for me to rhyme over. I even did Once Upon a Time, again just for Tashira. The crowd, the crowd of 1,000 plus went crazy. I actually had dancers at the time, three girls and two guys. I named the guys Poison and Pain, and they were hyping the crowd up behind me doing their WAP and Running Man routines. I never felt so at one with an audience. I could feel their energy inside of me. The more feeling they gave me, the more emotion I put into every verse, and by the time I was through, my body was soaked in sweat. Tashira was impressed. Commerce was the best and the biggest show that I had ever done. After it was over, I started signing autographs, and people were asking Kason and I to pose for pictures. When it was time to leave, police officers escorted me out of the building like I was some kind of star or something. It was all happening. Chapter 23. One Love Boomer. He was given to me as a puppy, a small pit, brown with a white streak that came down across his face. Boomer was like a real person, a nigga with his own unique personality and attitude. He was my companion, my ride. Anything I did, Boomer and me did together. Anything I got, Boomer and me shared. We were inseparable. I raised him to be the most dangerous and feared dog on the block, but he was also the smartest and best trained. That was a rare combination. My favorite place for him was right on top of the mailbox outside of my grandmother's house. It was one of those blue boxes with a rounded top, and Boomer would just climb up there and wait until I came downstairs. Folks walking down Warburton would be scared to death when they saw Boomer sitting on top of that mailbox with no leash on and no owner in sight. More than half a block away, people used to cross the street because they never could be sure that my pit bull wouldn't decide to jump down and attack them. That's how I liked it. Yo, X, get your dog off the goddamn mailbox, man. People can't even walk by. A friend of mine named Big Jack used to holler at me all the time from downstairs. He aight, I used to yell back from my grandmother's window. But Boomer would never move until I told him to. If I wanted to go to the store, I could tell him to wait on the mailbox while I walked down the street, and every time he was still sitting there when I got back, I would reward him by going to find some mischief for us to get into. All right, Boomer, come on, boy, we out of here. A few blocks up from my grandmother's on Locust Hill, there were some buildings back from the sidewalk that you entered via a small driveway in the front. In the basement of one of those buildings, there was a small laundromat. That's where these seven huge alley cats lived. They were big, hairy cats, about the same size as Boomer. And when you went down, you knew right away that those cats were living well because it was always warm and there were lots of mouse traps on the floor, whose traps were sprung without a sign of any kill. When Boomer was 4 months old, every night I brought him down to that basement to fight those cats. He couldn't quite kill them yet at that age, but he tried his best to fuck them up. The cats would have their claws out and be scratching him like crazy, but Boomer would never give up, and he never lost his heart. I knew when to stop it because whenever Boomer was hurt, he would let out this high pitched wail. He didn't stop fighting. He would just yell wildly out of the side of his mouth, frustrated that because he was so young, he couldn't do more against the cat's giant claws. When Boomer got older, it was a different story. Then he was strong enough to grab the cats by their throat and just bang their heads into the ground. That would end all of the fighting. And Boomer would love to kill. One time I was outside riding a bike through a ravine, and a cat he was chasing tried to get away by jumping through this open vent on the side of a building. But Boomer caught the cat by his hind leg and started yanking him. The cat was hissing and crying. Get him, I encouraged my boy. When Boomer finally pulled the cat out, the only thing that was holding the animal's back leg together was fur. The bone was bit right through. I ran right up on it. When an animal dies, he'll just piss and shit all over the place. And I caught some piss in the face that day. Then Boomer started to eat the rest. Boomer always wanted to drag his kills around with him for a few hours after the event, or he would just quietly stand over the dead animal in a victory pose until, of course, you tried to pull it away and he would start screaming. Boomer killed a lot of raccoons too. To him, they were just like big cats. See, most dogs have problems killing raccoons. Raccoons are much bigger and heavier than the average cat, and their claws are sharp enough to rip through flesh. But any well trained pit bull should be able to snatch a raccoon off his feet. All that scratching shit doesn't work when your legs are up in the air. Boom, boom, and boom. After the third slam, your neck is broken. Now all you can do is twitch. Just twitch and shit on yourself. Raccoons have heart. They will still try to fight back, but you'll see that sad look on their face and their eyes will start popping out of their head. There's no more thinking when your head is crushed. All that threatening arch your back routine is dead. All you're thinking about is sleep, buddy. Boomer's conflicts weren't always nasty, though. Sometimes they were actually pretty to watch. One time he ran up a fence in pursuit of a cat, and when the cat jumped off to escape, Boomer jumped with her and somehow caught the cat in midair. That was some fly shit. I taught Boomer how to climb fences. It's tricky for a young dog to understand how to get up and then get down again because they get scared. I started him off with a little gate and then quickly worked his way up. After a few months, all Boomer needed to hear me say was, "Get up, boy," and he would just start climbing. That was an important skill because I needed a dog that could run the streets like I did. I learned that when I lost Blackie. If I had to go over a fence, then my dog needed to be able to follow, especially when the police were chasing. Because in Yonkers, you could catch a charge for a dog even if the police caught your dog without you. And like they did with Blackie, the cops would probably shoot him dead. So I made sure that Boomer could roll like I did. I started to get real close to Boomer the second year that I had him. That's when I realized that the dog was more like me than I ever imagined. And I was like my dog. It was a night me and Boomer were walking down Warburton on my way to my grandmother's house. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a raccoon run out from a yard and squeeze under this parked car. So I quickly crouched down behind a tree to hide, and Boomer came right with me. 15 minutes passed. I didn't mind waiting. 15 minutes more. I wanted Boomer to have that raccoon. After 30 more minutes, now my back hurt, my knees hurt, and I was about to get up and forget it. But I looked at Boomer and he was crouched right there next to me, still eyeing the spot. He wanted that animal just as much as I wanted him to have it. I could see in his eyes, that he was ready to wait all night, and I had to be as game as my dog. 20 minutes later, when that motherfucking raccoon finally popped his head out, Boomer was on him. Game over. Our mission was accomplished, and me and my dog did it together. You can't fight a dog until he or she is at least 18 months old, and the first time he fights, I don't care what kind of dog it is, he's going to lose. But this is when you judge his heart. The dog doesn't have any abilities yet. So all you're looking to see is if he wants to keep fighting. If he's screaming and yelling to get more, that's how you'll know if you have a killer. Throwing pit bulls together so they could fight off the chain was a pretty common pastime in the project. I wasn't the only brother in Yonkers with a passion for pits. Every now and then you would see a Rottweiler. So just like other illegal activity in the hood, dog fighting would go down all the time. My problem was that every time I fought one of my dogs, I would get hyped to a point that I would almost want to fight the other owner. Get that motherfucker, Boomer. Come on, boy. Watch your legs. Watch your legs. I'd be shouting and sweating, watching every move. I could feel my blood rush through my body. My heart would be pounding. My body probably wouldn't have reacted any differently if I was the one fighting. And I always had to make sure the other owner knew what was up. Don't touch him. Don't touch the dogs. I want to see my boy get out of this. Even if Boomer was getting beaten at that age, I always let him keep fighting. That let him know that I wasn't going to let him give up and was the best way for him to keep learning new skills. By the time he got his adult weight, Boomer would do whatever it took to win a fight. One day, he had a battle with this big horse looking pit called Lism. The dog must have been 3 times Boomer's size. So while Boomer had a good bite on him, Lism just kept swinging him in the air like he was a medallion around his neck. But Boomer didn't mind. He just held on and kept breathing out of the side of his mouth. I could see him thinking, I'll wait because I'm not going to let go. And when you get tired, you motherfucker, I got you. After about 15 minutes of swinging, Lism ran out of energy and Boomer grabbed his leg. flipped him over, and the fight was won. Nobody could fuck with me and my dog. Chapter 24, Buried in Paperwork. I had put the dead body of a cat Boomer had killed up in a tree where he couldn't reach it to teach my boy how to jump. While my dog was going crazy, Jack walked over and suggested a management deal. I've got some new producers that I want you to meet. And I found some hot tracks that I want to get you to rhyme on, he said. So I think it's time that you and I sign an agreement. I liked Jack. I trusted him. He had hooked me up with a lot of shows, and I really appreciated him giving me my own place to stay. He was more like an older brother to me than a manager, so I had no hesitation in signing his paperwork. But soon after I did that, I realized that what I had just done was going to keep me broke for a long time. See, now that I was officially the artist, I was responsible for all of my expenses and studio costs, and legally, managers didn't have to pay for anything. They just make a percentage of the money that's coming in. Since Jack was managing me and promoting the majority of my shows, he saw most of the dough I was making. And since I was in the studio all the time, my artist bills were adding up. I went to the studio in White Plains almost every night. I went there to write and record. Sometimes I even slept there. But what I didn't realize was that they were charging me for all of that time. Even when Jack hooked me up with producers who had their own studio, like Tony Dofat and his partner Greg Troutman, I was still getting billed for engineering fees and lockouts. That wasn't right. How could people who were supposed to be helping me tell me that I owed them something? They knew I didn't have that kind of money. That was the whole reason I was working with them in the studio to begin with. I mean, it would have been all right if I was close to getting some money for a record deal, but every time Jack went off to a label with my demo tape, he came back with a sorry look on his face. Either they didn't accept my demo at all, or told him his voice is too rough, or he doesn't look marketable. One label executive suggested to Jack that I start dancing more. Another thought I should find a gimmicky outfit like the one rapper Kwame had with his polka dot shirts. Maybe DMX can wear a polka dot jumpsuit? Fuck that. I knew what I was and was not willing to do. Wild Pitch and the house music label SBK Records were the only two companies that showed any interest in me, but they never followed through. It was like a lot of the labels just dismissed me automatically because of where I was from. Yonkers was a place they never heard of, so they felt that there couldn't be any talent there. To most of these A&R reps, if you weren't from one of the five boroughs, you weren't from New York. And if you weren't from New York, then you had no vibe. This artist shit is bullshit. I started to get very frustrated. If everyone wants to bill me and nobody can get me any money of my own, well then listen, I'm just going to have to rely on my instincts. Now, who am I? Now, who I am is who I'll be till I die. Either accept it or don't fuck with it. But if we're going to be dogs, then you stuck with it. I don't have your chain. TQ looked at me, looked at Jack, then turned back at me again. The three of us were sitting in the living room watching television. TQ had gone to the bathroom and left his gold necklace on the table. Not a smart move. Come on, D, stop playing. What? I don't have your chain. You probably dropped it somewhere. Yo, D, for real, I left it right here. I don't have your fucking chain, TQ. TQ's faint smile slowly turned into a look of disbelief. Come on, D, please, Jack chimed in. I saw you take it. Let's keep this like family. Now the both of them were staring at me. But no matter what they said, they weren't going to win this one. I knew that neither of them would try to fight me for the chain, and I needed what I needed. Yo, I'm telling y'all motherfuckers, I ain't got nothing, man. It wasn't me. I walked out. Other times when I was broke enough and the skies were dark enough, I had to get even grimier. Give me back my tape, X. Nah, homeboy, you ain't acting right. I think I'm going to hold on to this for a little while. But I just paid you for it. See, I could win battles, contests, be unsigned hype. I could be the baddest rapper in Yonkers, the Bronx, all over. But if I was still broke, I was going to get mine. Who said my tapes were off limits? Fuck that. One DMX mixtape can produce a lot of $10 bills. And you did hand it back to me, stupid. One dark summer night, this off-brand nigga walked into a house party on Ravine where me, Collie, Buzzy, and Kason were chilling. He had a black ski mask pulled over his face and was rocking a huge gold chain around his neck with the horseshoe pendant on the end of it. He just waltzed to the front of the room and started profiling against the wall. Collie, do you know this nigga? Collie shook his head. This was my man's party, and I couldn't let a stranger just walk in all bold like that without doing something. Not when he was wearing a motherfucking ski mask like he was hard. One of Collie's friends noticed that I was getting anxious. X, I've seen him before. It's cool. That's so and so's boy. Who? My mind was made up. I could get a lot for that piece. Never heard of him. Fuck him. The lights were out, the music was blaring, and the moment he turned his head, I smacked him right in his chest and snatched it. Then I just turned and looked the other way. When he didn't say anything, I knew he was a bitch. He just looked at me like I was crazy. I was. What's the problem, money? Homeboy walked out without saying a word, but later when I left the party, 5 guys were waiting for me downstairs. DMX, we heard you snatch my people's chain. Yeah, whatever, Holmes. Your man is a bitch. This is my spot, nigga. In a fight, you don't feel it when someone hits you. The feeling comes later. But then it's different. When you're sore, and I could always deal with being sore. Before you get into a brawl is when you think it's going to make you hurt all over the place. Oh my God, he's going to pop my eye out. But that doesn't happen. It's like how people believe the first beatdown you take is the hardest one to go through. To me, the first one is the easiest one because you don't know what's going on. By the time you wake up, it's all over. It's the second beatdown when your stomach starts fucking with you because then you know what's about to happen. Then you have fear. Fear is the problem. But if whatever you're afraid of does happen, most of the time you will still be able to function properly. Your body will still flow, your body will still follow your instructions, although that's never easy to remember. Then by the third or fourth fight, your body is just reacting. You have no control. It's all your subconscious working. And even though we all say, I'm a killer, I'm the motherfucking man, we really don't know if that's true until it's on. We would like to believe that we will jump on top of a car, pull a burner out, do a backflip, and bust 2 guys in the head. But we don't know that. We may hit the ground at the first punch and start shivering. It's only after a threatening situation that we find out what kind of person we are. And then your friends are the only people who can tell you about it because your instinct was running shit. Do you know what you did, dog? You jumped over that whole fence and kicked the shit out of money. Word? I did? Get out of here. You don't remember it, but it happened. After my first couple of fights, I heard that I was a problem for real and realized that my inner self was worse than I thought. When the pressure was on, I turned into a monster. I was like the Incredible Hulk and I always got greasy. I never had a problem poking someone in the eye in a fight or digging in their nose, always with full force, hoping I had nails. I just felt my best bet was to go on the offense. Forget the defense. Do you, and I'm going to do me. But best believe doing me is going to be stronger than you doing you. I was the same way when I had to fight a dog. Most brothers are scared of them. But ever since that hound came at me escaping from industry, I knew that I could fuck a dog up, kick him or punch him in the nose, grab him by his nuts and hit him right in the stomach. The best tactic for a dog is to stick your hand down their throat. Then they can't bite you. Just wait for his mouth to open and make him choke. Ah! But I've also learned that there is a cord your psyche is attached to, and you shouldn't ever try to go further than that cord lets you. If you've been doing pull-ups every night, then you know you can scale that wall. If you haven't, then don't try it. If you've been doing 100 push-ups every morning for 2 years, then you know how strong you are. If you stay aware of your inner self, you will be good with any circumstance that comes up. Just be careful not to go further out then that cord allows you. And don't ever let it go. That night on Ravine, I handled my business. I slammed a few bigger rep niggas up against cars and beat them down good. I knew all the details about the fight because I had a lot of time to hear about it since me, Collie, Buzzy, and my Uncle Buckeye and Aunt Rhonda all got arrested that night when 6 police cars pulled up in front of my grandmother's house. Yo, Jack, I'm in Valhalla. What are you doing up there, cuz? I'm in jail.